real Francis Drake quote unknowingly inspires Naughty Dog to make a fourth Uncharted game, even though the third game properly ended the series.
Uncharted 4's development began after the third game in the series, and how is Uncharted 3's ending a proper finale for Nathan Drake, especially when compared to Uncharted 4?
I am here off the coast of Panama where we just recovered what we believe to be the coffin of legendary explorer Sir Francis Drake, who was buried at sea over 400 years ago.
And now let's capture all of our illegal destruction of history on videocassette for later.
I'm sorry, are you suggesting that recording the opening of a sarcophagus is illegal? Yes, they don't have a permit, but you don't mention that in your sin. It helps to be specific, you know.
Nathan's hair is still immaculate even after scuba diving.
Maybe his hair looks the way it does because he's opening the coffin not immediately after his scuba dive. In other words, maybe his hair is dry now.
There's pretty much no way that Francis Drake's diary remained in perfect condition after centuries underwater in his empty grave.
Here's a picture of money recovered from the Titanic. I don't know exactly when they were recovered, but this photo came from an article posted in January 2012, and the Titanic sunk in April of 1912. According to this article, the first items that were salvaged were recovered in 1987. Now let's assume the money was recovered in this time frame. This means it survived being underwater for about 75 years. So yeah, Francis Drake's journal being preserved isn't as far-fetched as you're suggesting.
Also, this journal contains clues to figuring out puzzles on the island. If Francis Drake left his diary in his coffin and never took it with him to the island where he would later die, how did he write puzzle solutions down that he had not yet encountered?
The answer to that question is pretty simple. Francis Drake wasn't alone in his eventual search for El Dorado. It's possible that after documenting all of these clues and solutions, only then did Drake fake his death and have someone put his diary into his empty coffin.
What is it? Come on, hold it up.
No way. Deal was for a coffin. That's it.
Wait a minute. If my show hadn't have funded this expedition, you wouldn't have...
You got your story, lady.
Why exactly did Nathan agree to work with a reporter in the first place? He obviously wants to keep whatever's in the coffin secret. Was this really the only way he could get a boat?
Another simple explanation. Yes, Nate doesn't have the money necessary to fund this himself. That was covered in the Uncharted Eye of Indra motion comic, where Nate accepts a job from Daniel Pinkerton. The events from this motion comic act as a prequel to events in this game. And maybe this wasn't the only way for Nate to get a boat, but Jesus, man, you're playing another action-adventure game. Just looking at the box art of this game, what did you expect? Joining Nathan Drake on an exciting adventure as he sits in a bank for an hour as he waits to try and get a loan?
Game doesn't think I noticed the Jack and Daxter reference on Nathan's scuba gear.
So it's a bad thing that the creators of this game reference another game that they made? And also, guess you missed the Crash Bandicoot reference then.
What's going on?
Pirates.
Off the coast of Panama? It's one of the most heavily patrolled patches of water in the world. It's literally only known for one thing. Well, two if you count the Van Halen song.
And yet, it still happens. Not as often in South America as in other parts, but still, modern pirates still exist, heavily patrolled or not.
Pirates?
Yeah, the modern kind. They don't take prisoners.
Game is hilariously wrong on the subject of modern pirates. Tom Hanks has a movie he'd like you to watch.
Actually, you're hilariously wrong. Yeah, sometimes male prisoners will be taken for ransom intentions, but in the case of females, I'm afraid that pirates may have far worse intentions than ransom. Also, these pirates aren't intending to take Nate for ransom. Nate himself implies this.
How the hell they find us out here?
These guys have been tailing me for weeks. Thought I lost them.
What'd you do to piss them off?
It's kind of a long story.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Elena doesn't notice the pirates until the perfect moment for a dramatic reveal, even though she was looking in that direction the entire time she was talking with Nathan about said pirates.
If the boats were too far away, she wouldn't have seen them. And here you go again trying to manipulate a scene to pad the sin counter. I'll prove what you're saying is bullshit.
You devil.
What is it? Come on, hold it up.
No way. Deal was for a coffin. That's it.
Wait a minute. If my show hadn't have funded this expedition, you wouldn't have...
You got your story, lady.
Look, Mr. Drake, you signed a contract. I have a right to see every single thing that's...
Could you hold that thought? Sully, we got some trouble. Hurry it up.
Okay, what's going on?
Pirates.
Pirates?
Yeah, the modern kind. They don't take prisoners. At least not male prisoners.
Wait, what are you talking about? Shouldn't we call the authorities or something? Shouldn't we call the authorities or something?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea, but we don't exactly have a permit to be here.
What?
I thought the fact that Elena was filming her story all by herself was pretty compelling evidence that Elena is a terrible reporter, but the fact that she didn't make sure all this grave robbing in Panamanian waters was legal just seals the deal.
The legal ramifications on this one are difficult to look into, but I'd assume that Nate simply didn't disclose that information to Elena, since it's clear from her reaction that she was completely unaware of that. I wouldn't blame Elena for being deceived. She probably believed him at first.
Do you know how to use one of these?
Yeah, it's like a camera. You point and shoot, right?
Good girl.
Shooting a gun is nothing like shooting a camera. Also, remember this line for later when Elena is shooting a grenade launcher one-handed from a moving jet ski.
That's the character's characterization of trying to lighten the mood in a dangerous situation. She does this often throughout this game. And what the hell are you talking about? I don't know what game you played, but once you reach the first jet ski section, you have to remain still in order to aim and then shoot.
Oh, wait.
What are you doing?
Okay.
Come on! Go!
All right.
Your camera is now ruined and likely your footage as well. I've owned a camera just like that years ago and I can attest to their waterproofing. It's non-existent.
You were saying?
I can't leave you alone for a minute, can I?
Sully still doesn't have his own Uncharted game set when he was a young man having his own adventures. That should have been the fourth game, damn it.
Though I agree Sully would be a great character for an adventure based on his earlier days, I'd rather keep the Uncharted 4 that we got.
Wait a minute, is this what I think it is?
Drake's lost diary. He faked his death, just like I said, Sully. He must have been onto something big.
Yeah, well, let's just keep that between us.
Thanks for the loan, Mr. Drake. I think I've earned a look at that diary when we land.
You had to have known she would overhear that no matter where she was sitting in the back of the plane. So the "can you believe this shit" look on your face is pretty unwarranted.
You damn Skippy.
According to this map, El Dorado is just outside of Quito, Ecuador, meaning it should have been discovered a long ass time ago. Look, all I'm saying is if they found Machu Picchu right next to Cusco, Peru, they can find this.
I mean, think about the many places in the world that have civilizations with tribes of people and ruins that archaeologists still make breakthroughs in. Case in point, this article is from 2018. Now, going back to Uncharted, maybe, yes, some other unimportant party has seen images of these islands through drones, satellites, or whatever, but for the story that these writers are trying to tell, they don't matter. Also, it was discovered by the Spanish.
Yeah, where's all the damn gold?
This place was picked clean centuries ago.
No good limey pirate.
No, it wasn't Drake. Check this out. Looks like the Spanish got here before he did.
Also, there's no way Sir Francis Drake could have written modern longitude coordinates in his map, seeing as how longitude hadn't been invented by the time of his death.
Oh, is that right? This article would beg to differ.
Does it say anything else?
Well, unfortunately, no. Last page was torn out.
But the map was in the middle of the diary. What was on all the other pages between that and the last page?
No, in fact, the map was at the end of the diary. This one is very hard to catch, but if you notice in this shot, before Nate takes the diary back from Sully, there's a single page from the end. So as Nate said,
last page was torn out.
Because we're gonna have every two-bit scumbag in the world racing us to this treasure unless we cut her loose right now.
Sully gives a pretty convincing argument here for ditching Elena. Of course, we later learn he told a bunch of scumbags exactly where they were going on a treasure hunt. Guess that makes him a hypocrite, doesn't it?
not paying attention, huh? He didn't willingly tell anyone about the trip they were making, and it's later revealed that since Sully owed Gabriel Roman a lot of money, Gabriel had been keeping tabs on him, and that's how he finds him later. By then, Sully had no choice but to try and convince Gabriel not to kill him and Nate. He used the knowledge of the location of the treasure as leverage to spare their lives. How the hell does that make Sully a hypocrite?
That's why we need to move fast. So just get me the camera crew, and
You should have requested a camera coup long before now. Also, I'm reminded just how similar this situation with recording a documentary is to the last Tomb Raider game.
Hey, this game has recording on a camera. And there's another game that also has a recording on a camera. Sin.
Also, there's no way in hell that cell phone is getting a signal out here in the middle of the Pacific.
Not if it's a satellite phone.
I don't get it. According to this, we're right on top of the mark.
Your modern GPS is not going to be capable of pinpointing 15th century map coordinates.
If it wasn't capable, then how did they know to come here? I mean, Nate even says...
I don't get it. According to this, we're right on top of the mark.
Maybe you're not reading that thing right. Let me see it.
No, this is the place.
There's nothing here, Nate. Another goddamn dead end.
Easy, Sully. Just relax. Let's take a look around.
The game is pretty much telling you it's a capable device.
Explosive barrels in an Incan ruin. I just want to point out that the Inca never invented gunpowder. Or barrels.
Hey, you want to know a secret? The Spaniards raided these ruins. Now what does that tell you?
Incans also didn't invent pulleys or counterweights.
Just because they didn't invent them doesn't mean they didn't use them.
Suddenly I'm getting Crash Bandicoot flashbacks. Wait a minute.
Dartigan makes a video game reference that isn't a sin of this game. Cliché.
Look over here. Tracks. I bet the Spanish dragged it out on cut logs.
Logs would not cut tracks that deep into solid stone.
You're right, but why assume it was logs? It's already clear that the Spaniards were the ones who raided this place, and many other materials that existed during their time could have made those cuts.
Must have come up the river during flood season and gotten stuck.
Going up the river implies that this submarine traveled up a waterfall before getting stuck. This is still the dumbest sentence I've ever heard in a game, and I've played Final Fantasy XIII.
No. Nate said flood season, which means higher water than usual. It wouldn't have had to go up anything. Also, Dartigan makes a video game reference that isn't a sin of this game. Cliché.
Let's check it out, huh?
No, wait. Something about this feels kind of hinky.
Hinky. You act like you've never seen a German U-boat in the middle of the jungle before.
I'm being serious, Nate.
I tell you what, why don't you stay here? I'll check it out myself. I'll call you if I run into any Nazis.
Sully has plot device sense, because suddenly he gets a weird feeling that makes him stay behind just so he can be captured later.
Or Sully could be exercising some caution for a number of reasons. This is characterization, and we see him do things like this throughout the series.
Hold on to this for me, will you?
There is zero reason for you to have Sully hold on to Drake's diary. You've already jumped in the water twice now while carrying it, so getting it wet is no big concern for you. The only reason Sully needs to hold it is so it can be a huge plot device later.
So what if it's a plot device? It's a cliche, sure, but elements like these are used to create a story. Nate himself even makes a joke about this later in the game.
No way! Old Francis took a bullet for you.
Yeah.
I thought this kind of thing only happened in the movies.
And Nate's reason has more to do with him about to board a German submarine in the jungle, and he could simply want to be extra careful about possibly losing it.
Looks like I'm gonna have to do this the hard way.
You really don't though. Instead of climbing all the way around the cliff so you can drop on top of the sub, why not just climb up the side of the sub? If you can scale a cliff wall, I'm certain the rusted out, full of holes submarine would prove little challenge.
You want to put your hands on old, rusted, and possibly sharp metal without any kind of protection for your hands? Pfft, be my guest, pal.
Something nasty happened to these guys. There's blood everywhere.
I see no blood anywhere though.
I admit it's hard for me to see also, and I know it's only a video game, but you're the one controlling the player character. Nate is the one actually there, so I'd rather take his word.
Nate, who is obsessed with treasure and fortune, takes only one gold doubloon from a pile that would likely be worth a small fortune.
As long as you keep manipulating scenes, I will gladly make a habit of showing your audience what you cut out so that they can see that you're lying to them by not telling them the whole truth. When Nate first picks up one of these doubloons, he says this.
I think the trail just got warm again.
How so?
Well, I just met a guy with pockets full of Spanish gold. Only the coins are stamped with a mint mark I've never seen before.
You're kidding me.
Looks like our German friends had a little secret.
Now, after some digging around, trying my best to understand this, I came across this passage. As Nate explained, the coins have a mint mark that he did not recognize, and I'm certain that in his experience, this is why he didn't take them. Not having a mint mark could have made it worthwhile to take more from where he found them, but there are other components that factor into their worth. Mint marks are one of them.
All of the Nazis on this sub were killed by the humans cursed by the El Dorado statue, which doesn't really make any sense since the curse turns you instantly and these guys were very far away from the island where El Dorado was taken by the Spanish, meaning these Nazis were cursed by the statue, traveled all the way to Ecuador and up a waterfall in their submarine before the cursed Kriegsmarines finally killed everyone on board.
I wondered this myself, but after replaying this game and paying attention to it, I realized something in this scene.
A gold statue.
A huge gold statue. And look here, these people, they're worshipping the damn thing. At least, I think they're people.
And remember, the El Dorado idol was originally in these ruins, which means there were mutated humans that worshipped and guarded it. They were the ones whom the Germans encountered.
Nate, this better not be another wild goose chase. We've got to get something out of this trip
Or what?
Dramatic mid-sentence radio cutoff.
It creates tension.
I'm Gabriel Roman.
Yeah, I know who you are, asshole.
Manners, young man. This is just business.
English villain is English. That's pretty much the only defining character trait he has. This will become a running theme for the rest of the series.
Oh, really? Did that theme carry over to these characters as well?
Now, whoa. Come on, Roman. He's got nothing to do with...
Sully!
Villain shoots people for no reason other than to prove what a bastard he is, cliché.
Why the hell is that a bad thing? He's a crime boss. He does pretty heartless things. That's the point of this scene, cliche or not.
This game likes to pretend it has variety in its gameplay by adding stealth moments like this one. Only problem is they forgot to add the one element required for stealth gameplay. A freaking crouch button.
Whether or not this game has a lot of variety is irrelevant to the fact that it does have variety. It has a couple of sections for stealth kills, firefights in huge areas, on-rail shooting sections, puzzle sections, and the jet ski portions.
You did a wonderful job of hiding that Jeep, Elena. No wonder Roman's men failed to spot it.
So what? Aren't they trying to kill Nate right now? Isn't he their priority?
The island they're going to has a Spanish colony on it. Not only is that easily spotted by satellites and planes, there should be historical records of it, meaning this island should be a UNESCO World Heritage Site by now, not an uninhabited island lost for centuries.
Just like in Devil May Cry 4, here we go again with repeating the same sin to pad the sin counter. Not holding back this time. 5 cents each time he does this lazy shit, and I'll repeat what I said before as a retort. Maybe, yes, some other unimportant party has seen images of these islands through drones, satellites, or whatever, but for the story that these writers are trying to tell, they don't matter. Also, it was discovered by the Spanish.
Oh crap! We're on fire!
You just turned the camera off a second ago, meaning your reaction to being shot with an anti-aircraft gun was to turn your camera back on and state the obvious.
Haven't you noticed by now that Elena is a reporter and she films important moments as they're happening? It's one of her traits as a character.
Neither Elena nor Nathan secure the chest and leg harness on their parachutes, meaning their chutes would be ripped right off them upon opening.
Not exactly. Here's proof of Elena securing the leg harness, yet strangely, the other one isn't strapped in. And in this shot, we see Nate has both of his on.
Nathan didn't secure his parachute harness before jumping out, but here in this shot it is.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my gosh, stop fucking lying.
Elena did not jump out over that Spanish fortress, so how did she and her parachute end up all the way over there? And mind you, she landed not far from where the plane crashed, but it was Nate who was the one who stayed with the plane the longest before bailing out.
How the hell do you know she didn't land there? Were you yourself actually there to qualify that shit? Because her parachute being there is a pretty big indicator that she did in fact land there. It's called the wind, dude, and it can be pretty unpredictable, especially when you're that high up over ground.
This was the game where the guy who paints climbable ledges with white paint got his big break, and he used that opportunity to paint the hell out of every ledge in this fortress.
Is it really a bad thing that the designer decided to make it a bit easy to point out climbable ledges so players don't get lost?
Buka Pintu! Ah, crap. Sialano! Chepatan! Buka Pintu! Ah, taí! It worked! There he is! Up there! Get on the gun!
These guys were speaking Indonesian before opening the gate for Nate, then switched to English once finished.
So being bilingual is a sin then? Also, Nate was trying to get around these guys conspicuously if you didn't notice.
QuickTime events.
Okay, so are you going to explain why QuickTime events get to sin?
How has Elena been getting around this pirate-infested fort without being spotted until just now? She's hardly been low-key, while with her whipping her camera out at every vista to record B-roll footage.
You do make a point that yes, Elena could be a little more low profile about using that camera, but this is another way that Naughty Dog showed more of the characterization of Elena in this game. In this case, she's a bit naive to what's happening around her. Instead of trying to point out what you see as negative about games, I urge you to take a closer look at what the game subtly shows you.
Traditional sandstone, brick, and stucco. Limestone mortar, huh?
How'd you get to know so much about this?
My show, Episode 4, Architects of a New World.
Seriously, what network is airing this show? I've seen no sign of professional production. It's just you and your camera.
Oh yeah, because those are questions that we're dying to know in this action-adventure game.
Drake.
Eddie Raja. I should have guessed.
Based on what exactly? You two apparently know each other, but the game failed to provide any context before this scene about that, and provides none after this scene as well.
How in the flying hell do you not realize this is the scene that gives the context that these two know each other? And there was another line of speech that, although very brief, gives a bit more context.
How the hell they find us out here?
These guys have been tailing me for weeks. Thought I lost them.
So what'd you do to piss them off?
It's kind of a long story.
Since we know now who leads these pirates, Nate could have suspected that Eddie was involved all this time. Also, no context after this scene? You know, I really could make a career out of making you look stupid.
So who was that guy?
Just an old business. Oh, look out!
Listen to me, maggot. I was promised treasure on this goddamn rock. And now, my men are dying. They can't even go outside to take a piss without an armed guard. And I have nothing to show for it!
It's hidden treasure, dude. Unless they promised that El Dorado would be sitting out in the open when you got here, you should have expected it would take some effort.
Eddie's not saying it wouldn't take any effort. What he's saying is that he didn't expect it to be so dangerous that his men are being killed the way they are before Eddie could be properly compensated.
Also, how long have you been here? Nathan set out for this island right after escaping the temple, and somehow Roman and his men still got here first, and Nathan has only been here for half a day so far.
Okay, but you do realize how much more Gabriel and his men are resourceful compared to what Nate has to work with, right? Right?
Nate steals back the map Eddie took from him, even though it's completely useless at this point, seeing as he's already on the island.
Oh yeah? What could Nate possibly do with a map of the island he's never been to before now?
Suddenly I'm getting Metal Gear Solid flashbacks.
Dartigan makes a video game reference.
Let's get the hell out of here. Damn it. Come on!
Going somewhere?
Yeah, there's pretty much no way Eddie and his men could have pulled up in front of them like that without the two of you knowing.
Did you watch this scene with blinders on or something? Nate and Elena were pretty much not paying attention to what was in front of them, and they were more concerned about trying to come back from the edge of the cliff they're dangerously close to right now. So yeah, Eddie could walk up to them quietly enough to take them by surprise.
Now, give me that map.
Why? It's useless. You are standing on the one thing it leads to.
There are other things pointed out on this map, genius.
There's no grenade launcher in this jet ski's side holster at the start of this cutscene, but at the end there is.
You almost had something here. Yes, we don't see any grenade launcher here, but the scene of them boarding the jet ski isn't at the end of this cutscene.
Wait. This time, I drive.
Okay.
Also, what tactical genius thought combining jet skis with grenade launchers was a good idea? When would you ever need this on the island?
I'd argue it was a good idea. No matter how implausible it is, that doesn't make this section any less fun.
That's our ticket out of here. Come on.
Our ticket out of here? Are you giving up?
Maybe you hadn't noticed, but we're kind of outnumbered.
We're doing fine so far. I don't know.
Elena, I don't need your bullet-riddled corpse on my conscience. Let's go.
Oh, please. You quit if you want to, but don't use me as an excuse.
Fine. It's me, okay? I am quitting. Are you coming or not?
So that's it. You're just gonna forget about the treasure and forget about Drake?
While it's not a sin in this game, the sequels turn a 180 on Elena's character by having her become the rational one who doesn't want to brave the danger for a good story, and Nathan becomes the one ready to risk life and limb for the treasure, completely at odds with how they're presented in this game.
Okay, this has to be the dumbest thing this guy has said in this video. This motherflower started this sin by saying,
while it's not a sin in this game,
yet he still sins this game for it. That and trying to sin characterization gets you 10 sins.
Looks like that cable would get us up there.
Let's go check it out.
I'll stay here and keep an eye on our ride. See if you can figure a way to get us to that tower.
Or you could just blow the wooden door open with your grenade launcher, rather than have Nate run halfway across the city so he can zip line across.
Sometimes things like this are omitted for gameplay purposes. Yes, Elena could have done that, and hell, maybe Nate even could have asked for the grenade launcher and given her his sidearm instead to defend herself. But how much of a challenge would the game have presented had that happened? Shortcuts aren't always the best options.
Right here. Gold statue. Weight 20 arrobas. That's over 500 pounds. That's gotta be it.
500 pounds of gold would only equal about a cubic foot. The El Dorado statue in this game is over 10 feet tall and should weigh in at over 50 tons.
First, Nate said over 500 pounds, which means it weighs more than that. Second, the El Dorado sarcophagus is not over 10 feet tall, which means it doesn't weigh that much. You can determine that from this scene when we see Gabriel standing directly in front of it. And Gabriel isn't short, he's almost 6 feet himself. Third, it's definitely not as heavy as you're trying to say, seeing as how before it's airlifted towards the end of the game, you can clearly see 2 men moving it.
You really need to see this.
Now is really not the best time.
No, Nate.
What are you doing?
You really need to watch this.
Why don't you just tell him that Sully is alive and this video proves it rather than play the pronoun game?
That's not playing the pronoun game, buddy.
Also, where did you film this footage? You were standing on a balcony overlooking the ocean, and there was no place that looked like that in between here and there.
Yeah, there's no place like that on the path that Nate takes, but there had to have been another path we don't see, which Elena obviously took to get here, and on the way, as she was recording, she captured this plot twist.
So what? The Spanish booby-trapped the island to protect their gold?
This wasn't made by the Spanish. Take a closer look at the spikes.
You have got to be kidding me.
This is from our plane.
Are we supposed to believe that the cursed Spaniards are setting up these traps? Because when we finally see them, they don't show any of the necessary intelligence to do that.
Just because you don't see something doesn't mean it isn't there.
What the hell's taking you so long anyway?
Well, maybe you hadn't noticed, but most of these books are half rotten and written in Spanish.
Spanish? Oh no, if only you were surrounded by people who speak it natively.
Way to miss the point that Sully explains here.
I mean, you tipping those guys off?
And miraculously showing up alive?
Now, wait a goddamn minute. Roman had a contract out on me. I needed to buy some time.
All right, so how is it you're standing here breathing and all, huh?
You are not gonna believe this. Huh?
No way. Old Francis took a bullet for you.
Yeah.
I thought this kind of thing only happened in the movies.
It does. Stating that it's a cliche, though, does not get you a pass for using that cliche.
So you agree with Nate that it only happens in movies, huh? I think this story disagrees with you.
See, that's the symbol the Spanish used to mark their secret vaults.
That would be a terrible way of keeping your vault a secret by putting an easily identifiable logo on it.
It would only be terrible if other people whom you don't want to know what it means learn what it means.
How did Roman's men get into the catacombs? Sully didn't reveal the secret entrance to them. Hell, Nate only just discovered the entrance, yet these guys have been down here long enough to set up floodlights.
It's sad you haven't realized the possibility that there are probably other non-secretive entrances to the catacombs.
Wasted his life. For nothing.
This won't be a major plot device in the sequel, as well as the key to a treasure I've been searching for my entire life. So no reason not to leave it here on Sir Francis Drake's corpse.
You're using knowledge of future sequels that hadn't even been in development yet to try and sin this game, and quite frankly, that's sinful as shit.
Suddenly I'm getting Until Dawn flashbacks. Oh.
Dartigan makes a video game reference.
Crap.
You earned that PG-rated catchphrase, Nate.
Dartigan repeats a sin to pad the sin counter cliche.
This film projector has apparently been running since the 1940s.
Or maybe the projector came on after Nate turned on the power. Just maybe.
Zombies. Why did it have to be zombies?
Though they have some similar characteristics, they aren't technically zombies.
And there's the fourth time information relevant to the plot was left on a desk.
And if it wasn't, you'd complain about the lack of information, just like you complained about Gabriel's men being in the catacombs.
Somehow Roman and his men just strolled through the monster-infested catacombs without any problem to capture Elena. Just as a reminder, this was Elena and Nate just a few minutes ago.
Oh my God!
How the f*** do you know that? Even if he doesn't mention the Descendants at all, does it really matter considering Gabriel's forces have both the firepower and the numbers compared to Nate?
Now drop your weapons. Down there.
Losing one weapon in a cutscene means you lose all of your weapons.
He did say drop your weapons, so...
Well, duh.
That is only a shell. The real treasure of El Dorado lies inside. Open it!
How do you know anything about the truth of El Dorado? It's not like you've been searching for this your entire life. The only reason you're on this adventure in the first place is because Sully clued in your boss. Yet somehow you knew El Dorado was a zombie virus and set up this double cross so you could sell it on the black market.
How dense are you that you miss what Navarro says here?
Navarro! That thing wiped out an entire colony! You don't know what you're doing!
Wrong! I'm the only person on this island who knows what the hell he's doing!
And not think that maybe Navarro has researched this enough to learn about the curse behind this gold idol. It's a possibility that he has researched this all his life, but the fact that he tricked Gabriel pretty much cemented that he knows more than enough. You gotta be kidding me with this shit.
Adios, jefe.
I'm the main bad guy now, despite a complete lack of character development.
Based on this scene, we see that Navarro is a schemer, backstabber, and manipulator. For a game like this, I'd argue that's enough character development. You're not playing a f***ing RPG or watching Hamlet.
Wait a minute, El Dorado was at the bottom of that hole in front of the monastery? Navarro's men were all over that place earlier and had been there for some time. How the hell did they miss it? It's not even a deep hole.
They had been there for some time, but Navarro's mercenaries only provide backup and muscle, while Navarro is the one actually trying to locate El Dorado. Also the hole isn't deep, is it? I'm sorry, what were you lying again?
I'm going to try to coin a new term for whenever this happens in entertainment. The Deus Ex Amica Ignis.
Whatever that bullshit is supposed to mean.
No better way of killing a climax than having it settled by a QuickTime event.
It's a cinematic and dynamic choice made by Naughty Dog. They probably figured it would be a better choice than to just end it with Nate shooting Navarro.
I did manage to save one small thing.
Here, this will be important in the sequel.
Drake's ring doesn't play a role at all in Uncharted 2. I told you, it helps to be specific.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You two got a funny idea of romantic.
Sully! Wow, you look like hell.
You should see the other guys.
Hey everyone, OmegaBlackHeart here. I really want to extend my sincerest gratitude for everyone who has continued to enjoy these videos and making it a huge success for me. My subscriber count continues to increase, and I feel overjoyed and proud that I can very much one day make this a full-time commitment and hopefully bring you guys more videos in a shorter amount of time. I have some big videos planned and I will work hard to make sure the quality is top-notch. I'll catch you all on my next installment. Stay safe everyone, and be good to each other.